Hi guys, Nicola here. Thank you for taking the time to join me on this webinar, 3 Fast and Easy Ways to Keep Clients and Potential Clients Engaged Through a Long Lead Time. So my name's Nicola. I work with company owners and salespeople, individual salespeople who are wanting to increase the sales in their business. So I am here to do some webinars for you, a few webinars. So there'll be a little bit of a series, and the subjects will change obviously each time. And I will let you know at the end of each episode what we'll be covering next time. So thanks for taking the time to join me. I know time is really critical at the moment, particularly with the industry being so incredibly busy. So let's dive in. And I want to start by just sharing with you a little bit about how I work, so you understand where I'm coming from with my strategies that we're going to go through shortly. So most of my sales experience over 15 years has been in new home sales in the construction industry. So a very consultative process can take months, if not a year, to get someone from maybe even a dream or a sketch of their dream home to signing off a contract and then working through the build process with them. So quite a big, long, extensive sales timeline, and takes a lot of work to understand clients really well and really deeply, and to ensure that they know that you understand where they're coming from and that you want the best for them and that they know they're going to get what they're dreaming of. So a huge process. So within that, I started off with a big company that had a set sales process, which was great. Everyone needs somewhere to start. And this was my first sales role. I had never sold anything in my life and didn't really know what I was doing. So we had this set sales process that was expected us to follow step by step. And it was very rigid. And I don't work in a very rigid way, as you'll get to know me a little bit more as we work through these webinars. My way of working is very fluid and it's very client focused. So everything changes depending on client needs, client requirements, to ensure that they get a real personalized experience. We don't all fit into one box. I believe we're all individuals. We all think differently. We all make decisions differently, and everybody deserves to be treated as the individual that they are. And I personally think we have a professional responsibility wherever we work with humans in our role to treat people as the individuals they are, to treat them with respect, to treat them with kindness and consideration. It's my opinion. It's how I work. It's what I live by. So I'll just go through a little bit of the framework that I work within when I work within either sales or sales coaching, just so you get a better idea. So first of all, so the consultative sales framework, so it's more open than a process. It's about allowing you guys as individuals to work within the framework of being yourself and not trying to be somebody that you're not and trying to fit into this box that nobody really fits in. So this is the framework that we work within. And so these are the questions that I ask before any action is taken in any way. So is it authentic? Am I being authentic to myself, to the business, to the brand? Super important. People see fakeness a mile off. Don't try and be anything that you're not. Really, really critical. The next is client focused. So whatever we're going to do next, is it client focused? Is it authentic? Is it client focused? Super, super critical. So many people miss this. They get caught up in their own, what they're trying to sell, how they're trying to sell it, what they're trying to sell it for dollar-wise, whereas every action should be client focused. Is this in the best interests of my client? Next is honest. Sounds really, really basic, but some of us get caught up in sales and we think, oh yeah, we can do that for that price. Well, I'll make it work. Well, it's not necessarily fair to either you or the potential client. It needs to be honest and it needs to be transparent is the next thing. Completely transparent. People don't get transparency very often anymore. There seems to be a lot of secrecy around details of sales and businesses. Whereas when you can be completely transparent, it takes the business client relationship to the next level. because they know there's nothing to hide and there's nothing to worry about. If you're being transparent about every aspect of what you're selling and what you're doing for this client, there's nothing for them to worry about, which is what we're trying to really achieve. The bottom line is we're trying to achieve a great business client relationship with a potential client that goes right the way through to a sale and beyond. So here we are. So many of you may be feeling a little like this at the moment with your big pile of leads. So we're going to go through 3 fast and easy ways to keep potential clients engaged through a long lead time, which I know a lot of you are suffering with at the moment. And although it can be really comforting to know we have work months, even a year or 2 in advance, and it's easy to let things like sales slip away. I know you're all really good crafts people, and sales may not be your thing in any way, shape or form, but at the end of the day, they are the lifeblood of a business and they need to be achieved to keep the business going. So I think it's super important to be constantly working on the sales in your business, how you're selling, the culture of the sales within your business, and to always be working on that. And if that means blocking out an hour or 2 each week, even though that probably seems impossible right now, it will pay dividends when the market changes. And everybody knows that everything is a cycle and nothing lasts forever. So although we're all super busy at the moment and we've got lots of work in front of us, it won't last forever. So I personally believe it's worth spending some time each week and just making sure that everything's, you're on top of everything. So here are 3 fast and easy ways to keep potential clients engaged through a long lead time. They're easy, fast, actionable steps you can start immediately. So let's dive in. So the first one is acknowledge the inquiry. Now this seems really straightforward. And a mentor of mine once said to me, you only know something to the extent in which you do it. So for anyone thinking, I know this, I know that I have to acknowledge the inquiry, it's obvious, but are you doing it? Every single inquiry that comes in, and are you doing it within 24 hours? The critical thing is clients need to feel valued. They need to feel valued and understood. Those are the 2 key words that I always work with. If clients feel valued and understood, they're going to move forward with you to the next step of your process. Now, your process may be long, short, but with a consultative sales process of any description, it's about walking this path together, in my mind, is how I think of it. And if you're taking a step forward and the client is not taking the step forward with you, then something's wrong. And the basis of all of that is the client feeling valued and understood. And this starts with the initial inquiry. We only get 1 chance to make a first impression. So it's so important. I'll give you an example. I spent just over a year back in the UK in 2011 and came back to New Zealand in 2012. Moved into a new house and needed a new aerial for the TV, which sounds really old-fashioned now, I know. But I needed this aerial fitted, and I rang this company, and she said to me, the lady that answered the phone, she said, now the gentleman that makes the appointments and the bookings is not here at the moment, but he'll be back this afternoon and he'll call you to make a time that suits. So I thought, perfect. I know what's happening. I know when it's happening. Perfect. I was a happy camper. Then he didn't call. In fact, he's never called. And it's now 2020. He has never called. And you think it's such a simple step, and a lot of people at the moment are saying, I'll give them a call. I'll get in touch with those people that popped in last week, or, a week's time. It has to be 24 hours at the maximum. And it has to be done with every single person that inquires with your business. Because I'm a great believer that the fact that a sale is lost at the end of the process is a myth. In my experience, and I've seen it many, many times, the sale is lost or won very, very early on, and much earlier than people would ever believe. I can remember selling a new home to a couple that I'd met. I'd been working with them for a few months, And as I started working through my sales career, I became really intrigued about why I was winning sales and why I was indeed losing sales. I'm very inquisitive by nature and would always ask the question. So either at the signing of the contract or the we're going with somebody else conversation, I'd say, can I ask you why? Why did you pick me? Why did you not pick me? And what I found really, really fascinating was the amount of people that had decided very early on. And this particular couple, they came through the show home on the weekend that I was working. And they said, we decided, we left the show home that afternoon after spending an hour with you, just chatting about all sorts of things, from house plans to the section that they owned, to the town, to all sorts of things, work. And they said, when we walked back down the driveway of the show home, we said to each other, that's who we're going to build our house with. That was a first meeting. And that was a spend of, $400,000. And they'd made the decision that early. So again, I can't express it enough. It's real and it works. Acknowledge the inquiry within 24 hours every single time. Now, next is to do with acknowledge the inquiry is mirror client behavior. So if they've called you, call them back. If they've come in, ask them how they'd like to be contacted. If they've emailed, email them back. Don't send an email to somebody that's called or popped in unless they've said that's how they want to be contacted. Again, is the client feeling valued? Is the client feeling understood? And some people only want to communicate via email, and that's cool. Some people always want to talk on the phone, and some people want to do business face to face. We're all different. It goes back to that. We're all individuals. Next is always start with thank you. Thank you for coming to us. Thank you for your inquiry. Thank you for showing interest in our business. We'd love to help you further. Now, secondly, moving on to step 2, explain your process. Again, sounds really simple, but there's human psychology tells us that all human behavior is motivated by meeting of our 4 human needs for survival. Now, I'm going to get to this in, I think, episode 3. But it's really fascinating because whether you know it or not, we have these 4 human needs that drive our behavior. And if we don't meet one of those needs, we'll look for it elsewhere. We'll look to meet it elsewhere. So when you have someone that you think is going really well, and then suddenly they go somewhere else, it could potentially be that you've missed one of their human needs. And we'll go through this in I'm sure it's episode 3. But so part of these human needs is one is certainty. And if we don't meet our need for certainty, we'll look for it elsewhere. So when you explain your process, you're meeting that need. And certainty it ties in with safety. You know what's happening next. The doubt is taken away. You know when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, which are the next couple of things after this. So when you explain your process, they know what to expect, they know when to expect it, and they know how it happens. So that may be, what happens next is we'll send you a questionnaire through email. If you could fill that in within a week, then we meet in the showroom for a consultation and we can understand exactly what you're trying to achieve. It could be you go straight to the consultation. It could be a phone sort of survey where you ask the questions, depending on how the client wants to be contacted, of course. Okay, let's dive into number 3, add value whilst staying in touch. Now, this is really taking things to the next level. So when you've acknowledged the inquiry, you've explained your process, they understand a little bit more about how you work. So add value while staying in touch is ideal for keeping top of mind when you've got a long wait time. I've got here as number 1, set up a MailChimp account. Now, it doesn't have to be MailChimp, of course. If you haven't heard of it before, it's a direct email marketing platform. I use MailChimp. It's free for up to 2,000 leads. It's easy to use. There are a lot of different templates that you can start with within the platform. Drag and drop, super fast, super easy. Have a look at it, MailChimp.com. There are other options, of course, so have a look around. But this is a really good place to start to set up a weekly newsletter, which I would recommend. Now, if you're thinking, what am I going to put in a weekly newsletter? The place where I would start would be to sign up for your suppliers' newsletters, which they would do. Also, places like the Kitchen and Bathroom Association, even some of the magazines, the home magazines would be really good, have some really good content that you could share, could drag and drop into MailChimp. That would be the easiest and fastest way to set up a weekly newsletter, in my opinion, and well worth doing to stay top of mind when you're looking at months, potentially a year wait time for your potential leads. Now, send something directly. Now, this is old-fashioned. I go for weeks at home without anything ever appearing in my mailbox. So can you imagine sending something directly to your potential lead? Nobody does this anymore. Nobody. When I first started in sales, I went to a sales seminar and someone recommended the use of cards. So greeting cards, but not generic. So they're all they're kind of client focused and they were specific to the client that I was sending them to. I used to use them all the time, and the amount of feedback I got on these cards was quite incredible. So send something directly. I'm a huge fan, and even more so now because nobody does it. It could be something as simple as a card. Just a thank you card. Thank you for your inquiry. How wonderful would that be to receive? How valued would that potential client feel? You could send something like an information pack if you have those, or if you're looking at putting those together. So a bit more, maybe the history of the company, the owners of the company, the work you've done, maybe some testimonials would be fantastic, that sort of thing. So it doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be expensive or extravagant. It's the gesture, the thought. And then make personal contact. Now, this is the one that takes time and energy, more time and energy than the others. So when I say make personal contact, I mean something that's really relevant to the potential lead that you're talking to at that time. So it has to be something to do with maybe what you've discussed. An example would be, I'm really attached to my pasta maker. I've got into making pasta over the last couple of years, and it's something I'm reasonably attached to. So if I was talking to somebody about my new kitchen and talked about this pasta maker, and then 3 months down the track, somebody sent me a link to a new pasta recipe or a special deal on the pasta, you know, ravioli cutters or the accessories that go with pasta machines, that sort of thing. That would take me aback, and I'd think they've really listened. How would you feel? Just take a moment and think about that. Has anyone done that for you in any industry? It doesn't have to be this industry. I find it really useful to be mindful of the experiences I have as a consumer or a client in my day-to-day life. I find it really, really interesting. And poor service, disinterest, is not hard to find, sadly. But on the upside of that, it makes it really easy to stand apart from your competition now, because people just aren't making the effort anymore. They're just not. I can give you an example. I'm running a black tie charity dinner next year. It was going to be this year, but due to COVID, it's had to be moved out. So next July at this stage. But I went to an event company for the decor, and now the event companies have been pretty hard hit during COVID. I think it's fair to say weddings were cancelled, business conferences were cancelled, you name it. So you would think an event company would welcome me into their business with open arms. And this was only 3.5 weeks ago. And I went into this particular company and said, look, we talked last year regarding this black tie charity dinner. Could you please send me through the overall proposal with the costings, and if you could pencil us in for that date based on what we talked about last year, earlier this year. I really liked the way she worked. I liked what she offered. I liked her ideas. All of that was coming together. I haven't heard from her. That was 3.5 weeks ago. I popped in and I asked her to email me through and to confirm that booking date. Now, do you think I feel valued and understood? No. Am I going to be going elsewhere? Absolutely. And how long does an email take to send? Not long, maybe a minute or two at the most. So I just want to really drive home, these small gestures seem really small, but people don't do them anymore. People are getting very, very slack with their client experience and making sure that it is delivered with excellence. It's a subject that I'm passionate about. I talk about it until the cows come home or someone takes my battery out. But it's true, and I live by it. And I'm telling you now, if you implement these things that I've told you today, you will stand out from your crowd of competitors, because it is easy to do that now. I've done these type of webinars before, and unfortunately, a lot of people still won't implement it for whatever reason. It could be a blame on being time poor, not having the resources. It doesn't matter. But I'm here to tell you, if you implement these things that we've talked about today, you will see a difference in your client retention and those clients coming back, even within a long lead time. You'll keep them retained because you'll be top of mind, and they'll feel valued and they'll feel understood. Look at the difference between if you do these things and your closest competitor doesn't, and then say you're both a year out from being able to do the work for this potential client. You do all of these things we've talked about today, and your competitor doesn't contact that potential client for maybe 6-9 months. And then they just ring them out of the blue to say, oh, we could look at your work that you want doing now. Which way do you think the potential client is going to go? It's really obvious and it's really clear. So I want you to take it seriously, because it will make a difference. So I hope you found huge value in today. I've really, really enjoyed presenting for you. So thank you for joining me. I know the time is of the essence at the moment. I completely understand. So I hope I've kept this within time. I'm not even sure, but I think I'm there or thereabouts. So thank you so much. The next webinar will be 3 ways to stop competing on price. I love this subject. This is a game changer, and they're really simple things. Somebody told me just recently, if you can't be in your industry, if you can't be the cheapest, there is absolutely zero benefit to being the second cheapest. And who wants to be the cheapest anyway? So this is a game changer for your business. Stop competing on price right now and make every sale more profitable. There's no need to compete on price anymore. I'll share all of that with you at the next webinar, which will only be a couple of weeks away, I believe. So I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, if you would like to book a strategy call with me and just have a chat about where you are with your business, there may be an opportunity to work together. I may be able to help you further one-on-one. The link to my calendar is below. Please book a time and I'll send you through a Zoom link and we will catch up then. If not, I will see you next time. Thank you. Take care.